is Caleb Maupin, known to many of you as an early activist and a journalist.
Thanks. Well, thanks for having me down. It's great to be in this park again. I wanted to start out by telling an old Chinese folk tale. So the story goes that there are two men in the middle of the street, and they're screaming at each other. They're just furious with each other. They're just yelling and screaming. And a crowd of people gathers around and watches these two men just yelling at each other. And in the crowd, there's a young boy. And he looks at these two men yelling at each other. And he turns to a wise old man and he says, why don't they just start punching each other? Why don't they just start punching each other? Why don't they just start having a fight? And the young boy, he asked the old man, why don't they just start having a fight? Why don't they start punching each other? And the old man says to the young boy, he says, because the man who throws the first punch will be admitting that the other man's arguments were correct. Well, I would like to dedicate that folktale to the NYPD. The NYPD said that we were correct when they came down here and maced people and beat people up and arrested people. They said that they couldn't beat us with logic, so they had to beat us with violence. 5 years later, everyone knows that we were right. Think about it. Elizabeth Warren would not have a career if people did not know we were right, if millions of people did not know that we were right. We had a major campaign for president, Bernie Sanders. The campaign was like a giant Occupy Wall Street rally, talking about the 99% and the 1%, because millions of people know that we are right. You even listen to the rhetoric of Donald Trump. This man's a Wall Street guy, a realist, a realtor, a billionaire, but yet in his speeches, he would like his supporters to believe that he is a representative of the 99% and of the common man against the 1%. Even Hillary Clinton, when she speaks, right? This is the incarnation of the political establishment. But yet when she speaks, she presents herself as if she is the voice of the 99%, the common people against the 1%. You know, I remember in this park 5 years ago having arguments with people and debates. Should we run Occupy candidates for office? And now 5 years later, maybe we don't have any Occupy candidates, but every candidate wants you to think that they are the Occupy candidate. We were right. We were absolutely right. The whole country knows it, and the whole world knows it. It's a fact. We were right. The United States is not controlled by we the people. It's controlled by billionaires and bankers with lots and lots of power. And I want to say this. I have to say this. The mainstream media took a while to catch on about Occupy. They didn't really think we were front page news for a little while. It took a while before people caught on about what was really going on here and the magic that was taking place in this park. But there's one TV network that was here on the first 19 days more than any other network. That TV network actually won an Emmy, an international Emmy. It was nominated for an international Emmy for its coverage of Occupy Wall Street. And that TV network is Russia Today, RT. And I'm proud to say that I work with them. I'm not ashamed of it. Obama and Hillary Clinton can bash us all they want. It's a good network doing what mainstream media doesn't do, telling the facts that mainstream media doesn't tell. This election facing the country is a disaster. It's a complete disaster. I could never vote for Donald Trump, a man who has said horrendous things about immigrants, a man who has said horrendous things about Muslim Americans. But at the same time, I couldn't vote for Hillary Clinton either. If you turn on the television, you watch Hillary Clinton speak, she's running an election against Donald Trump. But lately, if you listen to her rhetoric, it's almost as if she's running an election campaign against Vladimir Putin. And I got to tell you this, you know, 5 years ago, when people were in this park, there were many different causes here. There were people talking about police brutality. There were people talking about the housing bubble. There were people talking about unemployment. But maybe you'll have to correct me. But I don't remember anyone being in this park saying, I came down here, I'm risking arrest, I'm going up against the police because I want a war with Russia so bad, or I want a war with China so bad. Hillary Clinton is not what this movement stood for, and she has no right to invoke what these people came down here and struggled for. Now, what was the mantra constantly leveled against us back in 2011? What did they constantly say about us? Well, we have no demands. Well, I'm going to put forward 4 demands, and I want you to tell me what you think of them. I got to warn you, though, these are the most radical demands I can come up with. These are the most extreme things. Number 1, I think that people should be able to have decent jobs so that they can support their families and live a decent life. What do people think?
Yes!
Secondly, I think that war and nations attacking other nations and violence, that should be avoided at all costs, and the priority of the government should be peace. What do people think?
Yes!
Second, I believe in equality. I don't think that anyone should be discriminated against because of their gender or their race or their nationality or their sexual orientation. I think people should be treated equally. I believe in equality. Is that a good demand? What do you think?
Yes!
And furthermore, I think that we should have a government that represents the people, not the wealthy 1% and the bankers. I think we should have democracy. What do people think? Is that a radical demand?
Yes!
Well, guess what? You all are revolutionaries, because the only way we can get peace, jobs, democracy, and equality is to stand up and fight against the power of the billionaires and the bankers. It's a fact. Peace, jobs, democracy, and equality are what the billionaires and the bankers are holding back. It's what the people want, but it's what they're holding back. Look, I think one of the biggest crimes, and I'll end with this, that the mainstream media has done is it's caused Americans to forget who they are. There are a lot of horrendous things that have gone on in the history of the United States of America. Slavery, Jim Crow segregation, the slaughter of the indigenous people. But that's only half the story. If you look at the history of the United States, you'll see that there are abolitionists, and there are suffragists, and there are labor organizers. There's a whole history of progressive struggles for justice. This country began with a revolution, and there is a deeply revolutionary heritage within the American spirit. And I think that our job here is to remind the people of this country who they really are, of their revolutionary heritage, and get them to stand up and fight back. The billionaires and the bankers have got a low-wage police state on the agenda. They've got endless war on the agenda. It's time to start writing the people's agenda. I think a new country is in birth, and we are part of that struggle. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.